The Yetimite clone trick isn't dead, it's just not going to be used that much because you don't get great value with it. Honestly, the Royal Champion charge is better. But can you use the Firemites with the clone spell and get great value? So I did try a Firemite clone before the Furnace even came in game, but I couldn't get it to work. But it turns out I was doing it wrong, and CoC, credit to him, he came up with a way that makes it work amazingly, because it turns out the Firemites go really well with the clone spell in terms of how you can place them. Have a look at this, right? The clones are barely overlapping, but the Firemites, when they spawn in on such awkward angles that they are always going to use up the clone spells. And look at this here. This is one benefit of the Firemite clones. They will go after that defensive clan castle, which is obviously the most important defensive building on the base, and we've cleared out a nice funnel here, but we have used every single spell. It's a lot of value. If we didn't get the CC, it would be nowhere near enough value. So let's see how important the CC is here. We do have a nice path to do a wraparound on the base, but there is also a lot of defensive value left. Now, if you're wondering why I'm doing this on a friendly village base where there's obviously these defensive army camps, I actually don't have enough legit layouts. Don't worry, the next 2 or 3 replays are going to be on war bases, and therefore there's none of these defensive army camps. But in saying that, I don't think the army camps really played a part in this attack. We saw the Firemite clone at the start go fine, and you're going to see the Root Riders go around the base here. I'm actually going to 2 times through it. I know you guys aren't here to see the Root Riders, but I need to finish off this attack to see if the funnel is good, because there's no point in getting a really nice funnel if the Root Riders can't finish off the base anyway. So you can see we're coming across the base here. We have gotten one of the defensive army camps has helped us out, and now a second one. Not really much I can do about that. Don't worry, the next couple of attacks will be on war bases where you don't have to deal with all of this. But you're going to see at the end here, right? One of those giants isn't mine. Obviously, the other is from the Queen. And the cane that is up isn't mine either. So outside of that, we really don't have a lot of troops. So I was unsure after this attack whether, yes, it was effective, but whether it was enough value. But the next attack really sealed the deal for me. So the super barbs in this army are used to clear out some of the trash buildings so the Firemites can get more value. But you see here, we find these Teslas on the outside of the base, and I'm like, I don't really want to send my furnaces straight into a Tesla. So we come on the other side of the base. That's the benefit of bringing so many of them, and look at them. So we can get the clone spells to go so far in the base, and it looks like the clone spells aren't going to work. But look, the Firemites just jump at such awkward angles, and they spawn really weirdly around the buildings that it's always going to end up cloning. You can see the clan castle goes down. The monolith here is going to go down, and we do get some nice value, and this geared up cannon will eventually go down as well. But it's worth noting that pre-update with the Yetimite clone, I could have done 2 clone spells and 1 rage, and I got exactly this. So you're using an extra 2 clone spells, but I am getting the clan castle as well. So it's an interesting toss-up. It's definitely weaker than what the Yetimite clone was, even though that wasn't getting the CC. It's not worth 6 space to get rid of the CC, spell space, in my opinion. But it's still, the fact that it's comparable and gets rid of the CC means I think it's strong enough in the game currently. Now, this town hall is obviously going to be a bit of a pain, particularly because my siege barracks and queen are not setting a good enough funnel, but what can you do about it? Thankfully, something will eventually go to the town hall. One of the Root Riders splits off, and we've just got a really nice push. And this style of base doesn't really deal well with these clone attacks, and this style of base will almost certainly come back after the event is over, because, I mean, people are going to go back to Royal Champion charges, right? Or potentially this trick, but I think we'll see some different bases if this trick becomes meta. And another thing I like about this trick is it's really easy to clone those Firemites. It's not hard at all. The Yetimite clone, particularly if you did it with the blimp, could be quite difficult, and I know some YouTubers were doing it, but that was such high risk that was never going to be good unless it was in an FC. But this one can work not in FCs because it is really safe. So the Royal Champions come across the base here, but we need to compare this to the best opener in the game. So I've just hit this base with the Firemite clone opener where we use all of our spells. How about we use all of our spells on our Royal Champion instead? So I'm going to start the Royal Champion from the exact same spot here, running the Spirit Fox. You can run the Phoenix if you want, but the Spirit Fox is better at this stage, and with the defenses getting leveled up, you do actually kind of want to get those extra seconds that you get from the Fox instead of the Phoenix, but it does take a bit of extra skill. If you know what you're doing, the Phoenix, you can still absolutely make that work. Now, you're going to see here one of the downsides of doing the Royal Champion charge version of the army, and that is tornadoes, right? Or even just traps in general. The Firemites seem completely impervious to traps on the base, whereas the Royal Champion charge doesn't. Also, the CC, but keep in mind, one benefit of the Royal Champion charge, as we see the Town Hall shoot my Royal Champion from across the entire base, one benefit of the Royal Champion charge is you're not going to kill the CC, but you are going to mitigate it by pulling it outside the base. My Royal Champion is 1 HP here. This is actually a beautiful invis spell. If my Royal Champion went after the Poison Tower, it would have gone down immediately and killed her. So we use all those invis here. Now, I don't get the Town Hall, and that's generally what you want to do with the Royal Champion charge, but look at that value. It says only 25% of the base, but we all know it is so much more than that. And I'm just going to use my Siege Barracks here on the left-hand side to deal with the CC, because I don't have a poison spell, and the Siege Barracks is great at that. And now let's spam our Root Riders. It is basically the exact same thing. We're not dealing with the CC. We're not... well, yeah, we don't have to fight against the CC. We don't have many spells. I do have a Rage and an Invis because I didn't use them all. Whereas, obviously, the Firemite clone, you're never going to have a spell with your Root Riders. This, some of the time, you will. But I also don't have my Royal Champion. And the Royal Champion is really nice with these attacks, particularly if there's a defending Minion Prince. Thankfully, my Headhunter there deals with the Minion Prince nice and quickly. But you're going to see here, and the biggest benefit of the Royal Champion charge is there's no back end of the base, right? This compartment over here was not even close to taken down by the Firemite bomb. But the Royal Champion does get it down. Do we have her for the attack? No, but it doesn't matter. And this for me, it didn't, like, there's still scenarios where the Firemite clone's going to be better. But I think this, for me, showed just how ridiculous the Royal Champion charge is, because we're all going crazy. I know there's going to be so many content creators posting this army, some of them even probably before I did, that are going to be saying that this is broken. And it's strong. But when you compare it to the Royal Champion charge, I don't know. The Royal Champion charge is pretty insane. I mean, I went into a NATO, I lost my Fox pretty early, and it still got so much value. End up swagging an Invis spell. I have just as many, if not more, troops up than the last attack. Now, this is super surprising, but when the CC is more accessible, I actually find this trick is a bit weaker. So normally you would use the Super Barbs to clear the buildings on the outside of the base, so that when you do the Firemite Clone Bomb, more of the Firemites are going for the defenses or buildings inside the base. But when the CC's on the outside of the base, we obviously can't use the Super Barbs on the outside of the base, right? Because that would pull the CC and completely undermine what we're doing. So you don't actually get as good value when the CC's on the outside of the base, which is just a weird thing to think about. We're still going to get excellent value here. Look, we're clearing out a whole chunk of the base, but yet again, pre-update, Yetimite clone, I think I can do that with 2 clone spells. Obviously, I don't get the CC, but I would pull the CC and be able to deal with it on the outside of the base. So keep that in mind. Obviously, though, the Yetimite clone, definitely nowhere near as strong. And I think this is stronger than the Yetimite clone, just because of the CC. I think the Yetimite clone will still get slightly more defenses than this one gets, particularly if you're going to put all your spells into it. So if you just want defensive value, in my opinion, the Yetimite clone is stronger. But if you want to take the CC down, which is obviously probably the best defensive structure you have in the game, and if it's accessible for you to take down, then definitely run this trick. So it's kind of cool that it depends on what you're doing. We'll change what opener you want, but also I still think the Royal Champion charge is better than both of them. It does take a bit more skill. That's something I do like about this Firemite clone one. It's super simple and it's pretty quick on time. The Royal Champion charge, obviously not quick on time at all, and time fails can be a problem, but also it's ridiculous. Now, if the if the Electro Boots gets a nerf, then I think this becomes a very interesting conversation. Now, in my opinion, the Electro Boots needs another nerf. it's still ridiculous. It's, you know, outside of the Eternal Tome, which, I mean, the Eternal Tome should always be the strongest hero equipment in the game, right? It's just a staple of Clash of Clans at this point. Outside of that, it is easily the strongest. So if it gets a nerf, then we can come back to this conversation about the Firemite clone and it potentially being the best opener in the game. So, to recap, is it good? Yes. Shock, what he did, not clickbait. Originally, I did think it was clickbait when I failed the first couple of attacks with it. But once I figured it out, definitely not clickbait, but it's not the strongest opener in the game. That still belongs to the Royal Champion charge.